Hello, Tyne! I'm really excited to see you again. Tomorrow, I'm going to be self-editing the final draft of World War Marlowe, which is something I know you people on TikTok are really excited about. Just for those of you who don't know, I have a novel I've been writing on for a long time. I sent it out to publishers, and they were excited about it, but something about it was a little bit off. So there's two parts to this, okay? One is right now. I'm going to be quickly preparing to make a good writing atmosphere, a good editing atmosphere, and setting some rules for myself for what I can and can't do. And then the second part is going to be all the things that I learn while I'm actually editing. But I'm going to be using this to outline my plot on, so just as I go through, so I can actually track the character arc and the plot to make sure that all of the things that I set up are finished. Primarily, I'm going to be focused on doing the line edit, so making sure that every single line is as good as it can be. Thing that sticks out to me that's like, oh, that's really good writing, is if the character has a strong voice. So my character Marlowe is extremely snarky, very rude at the beginning, and then goes on a character arc to kind of change, but I still need to have that snarkiness laced throughout the story. So this final edit is also just going to make sure that I cover any patches to entirely get rid of this character. And in its place, I know that my word count is going to be a little bit low, so as I go through, there's a couple of themes that I already know of and that I'm going to identify by drawing out my plot that I really think are going to make the story a little bit more cohesive. Another thing I'm going to be doing tonight is just kind of cleaning up my desk a little bit. I at least want to have it set up so that it's much more streamlined for me to get any work done that I need to do around the house. Yeah, let's jump into it. So if you've never seen one of my plot structure videos, I should probably make a new one because they're always lumped in with another video. But I'm going to essentially draw out the plot the way that I like to analyze plots on the chalkboard so that while I'm editing, it's easier for me to make sure that I hit all of the points. So essentially, instead of a normal like just pyramid plot structure, I like to have mine go this direction so that you can really see the growth of the character. So Marlowe's starting point is down here, he's going up, then there's the plot twist or the inciting event, he drops back down, and then we're rising, he's getting better, there's a little dip, he goes back up, a little dip, he's getting better, there's the Dark Night of the Soul, which is way down, and then he goes very, very high up after that. There's still a little bit of room for him to grow, a little bit of room, he's kind of wavering, one last plot twist, and then we're up and we're at the end of his character arc. And so essentially this maps Marlowe's main emotional journey, and because this specific story is character-driven as opposed to plot-driven, his character arc is going to follow pretty closely with this. And so then as I'm editing, I assume I'm going to be marking off exactly what happens at each of these events. It's based off of me analyzing a lot of the movies that I really like. And so I'm just going to be able to tick and make sure that he hits these different things. I already know what several of them are, but I'm not going to write them in right now. One, because it's going to keep me from editing better later, and two, because I don't want to give away spoilers, because of course I know what all of this is. I just want to make sure that he hits these couple of arcs and kind of chart his journey, and then as I'm editing, I'm going to go ahead and put lines through where I've edited at, just to make sure that I've hit everything. It's like I've edited this section to the best that I could. So this is my desk. As you can see, it's a little bit chaotic right now, but essentially I'm just going to be preparing it so that it's a little bit more productive. I don't need my 3 gay books on the table. This doesn't need to be here. Put this candle away. My little notebook that I'll be writing. I'm gonna keep my headphones on my desk. I just keep these couple of books on my desk. Still need to water my plants and take care of a couple of things. If you haven't seen a video of either me making the chalkboard or of me setting up my writing space, either those videos aren't out yet or they are, and you can find them linked in the description and in the eye. I also have a video coming about low waist writing and why I have a really stupidly fancy keyboard when the keyboard on my laptop works totally fine. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is just before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to close all of the documents that are just open on my laptop in general, and then I'm gonna leave that document open, and any other supporting documents I need, like any files that I had written edits in, I'm gonna go through those quickly tonight just to see if there's anything in there that I need to keep in mind. Other than that, I don't really want to show you guys just me cleaning the apartment in general, so just imagine me cleaning, and then I'll see you guys in the next part. Good morning. So I did some stuff last night that I'm just gonna quickly catch you guys up on before I get into the actual writing. I did watch a couple of YouTube videos about line editing. If you haven't stumbled across Abby's channel, then I would really recommend it. They have some really good content on there. It's really beautiful and really helpful. They do a lot of research on it. And one of the things that they reminded me of was kind of a way that I search for and remind myself to continue to line edit throughout the entire edit, which is essentially searching for weak words, and then I put that little squiggly line. I know it has a name, I'm so sorry. I put that in front of weak words to remind me that maybe the sentence can be stronger. I know that I slip into passive voice very easily, and so having a little mark before was reminds me, like, is there a different way I could phrase this that's more interesting, more active? So I did end up making myself some pasta last night so that I would have a snack for today so that I'd be able to get through it faster. Additionally, I already have Grammarly installed on my computer. I don't have the premium version, but I do have it because I'm dyslexic and I get confused with like word spellings and like if there's spaces between words that like sound similar. I get confused by that a lot, so I have Grammarly installed, and there's also the Hemingway app, which is essentially like an over-the-top editor. And so after I go through and I'm going to be looking at my beta readers' comments in association with about 2 pages, going through editing that bit, pulling that into the Hemingway editor when I go through and do my line edits, just to make sure that it's like good quality writing. Once I complete that, I'll be pulling that section into the final document that I'll be using. With that, I want to get writing while the sun's still out, so let's get into it. The foundation for my success was to be built on a single rule. It was passed on to me by my eldest brother, who once sat in the same flimsy white chairs that were notoriously used for royal events. The rule was simple. Emotions should never influence your work, and yet my bouncing leg gave me away. A clock tower tune reverberated through the Ginlect amphitheater. The obnoxious tone of the crowd hushed. We fell into bows as Planet Merc fell into silence, and the king mounted the stage. Lifting my eyes to watch him through the cover of my bangs, I saw the slight glitch and twitch that was proof enough that he was holographic. Racking my mind for an additional principle to fall back on, I sat between my father, frivolously flicking a scuff on his sports jacket, and my other brother. There were few clouds, so my eyes drifted over the slight arch of the ice rings, where they crashed over the horizon on my left to where the skyscrapers obscured them everywhere else. The rings on the king's pudgy fingers reflected the hidden stage lights. Tapped a small sheet of glass that his a tongue. Well, so much for editing my entire novel in a weekend. It's actually been about 2 weeks because I'm editing a lot more thoroughly than I thought. So when you're reading books on editing or in watching YouTube videos about editing, there's a lot of different steps for editing, and they have like, first I'm going to do the plot edit, and then I'm going to do the scene edit, and then I'm going to do the line by line edit, and then cutting out all of the like weak words. And I have done a lot of that stuff. I've been working on this novel for 5 years, but I think that's where a lot of the problems in this editing come in. When I read through it completely and I edited the scenes, I didn't have in mind the different components of like, is this scene moving the rest of the novel forward? So in going through it now, I've marked out my chalkboard into 4 different sections. In chapter 1, I want to have all of my world building done. In chapter 4, and up until chapter 4, is where I'm going to be working on a lot of my character development. So I wrote out my 3 main characters and just kind of the words that I want to use to describe them, and then brainstormed a couple of other scenes that I could add to it to reinforce that character development. Because what I discovered was my first chapter was pretty strong. There was a lot of rewording things that needed to happen just because the tone wasn't right, and chapter 4 was an extremely strong chapter, but the things that kind of fell in between were a lot of the original draft, where the scenes themselves, they had good bones, the dialogue was alright, but it just didn't mesh with the rest of the story because I've been taking so long to edit it. The word choice that I used and some of the phrasing that I was using just didn't match up with the way that I was ending the novel and kind of the themes that I want to conclude with it. And those were the other 2 sections, by the way. After chapter 4, up until just a little bit before the like main climax plot twist, is romantic development, and then the last few chapters are all thematic resolution. So then on this plot outline edit, I have things that are above the line as things that are already there, and what I'm writing below the line is scenes that I need to add, or words or dynamics that I need to add. In looking at the sentences, I guess the reason why those specifically sparked such a desire in me to rewrite so many scenes is from one of my favorite books, We the Animals. And this book is about a man coming out as gay. It's a true story written through the lens of himself as a child growing up. And I found this book incredibly impactful, not only as like a gay man that was just like seeing someone else's experience, but also so realistic that I could find myself and see myself in every single scene. And I just loved the way that his word choice informed the rest of the scene. So as I was going through and sentence by sentence saying like, is this impactful? Is this what I wanted to say? Is this going to be perceived correctly? That being said, I'm still considering this the final edit. After I go through and edit the entire thing, I'm still planning on reading the book through one more time, just so that I make sure that it flows and is cohesive and I'm not pulling things from too many different places. So my themes and the technology and the characters that I introduced in the beginning weren't stable through the middle. And this big emotional impact I had at the end wasn't started and like foreshadowed in the beginning. It didn't give you the components to really care about the characters in the same way I wanted people to. So as I'm going through it, I'm paying attention to my word choice through the character's lens. That way I'm not failing at world building by like info dumping on the reader. I'm really paying attention to what the character would be thinking about. So while I failed at editing in a weekend, I feel like I'm doing a more thorough edit, and looking back on it, I wouldn't be trying to go through and do another like plot edit or scene edit, because I don't think just doing that alone would have made me realize what I am now about the different elements that I need to be bringing into each individual sentence. With that being said, I'm actually not that far into the novel right now as far as editing it goes. If this video inspired any ideas in you or just made you think of anything, please leave a comment. It'll also help you find it later if you're not actually editing your novel right now. Or if you do want to make sure that you watch it later, like save it to your watch later thing, or maybe your liked videos. If you are just watching writing videos to procrastinate on writing, then I invite you to stick around for the end screen in a few seconds to watch another video. You're not actually procrastinating. And if you want a constant guilt trip that you're not writing, I invite you to subscribe so that I'll like show up in your subscriber box more often and taunt you with how much I'm writing and you aren't. See you guys later. Bye.